Yep.
Let's do it. What's up, Miami Dolphins fans? Welcome to this week's edition of Dolphins Deep Dive. I am your host, Chris Perkins, your Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist. That's Dave Hyde, your Sun Sentinel columnist. And look, this team continues to make headlines, and this week's is a one that we've seen before. Tua Tagovailoa is in concussion protocol. He has not been officially diagnosed with a concussion, but it's a head injury. He's in concussion protocol, and now his future and the entire rebuild plan are at stake. Look, we have to wonder about Tua as a person, first of all, his health and his well-being with this head injury. It is his, it's his third time being suspected of having a head injury. There was Buffalo, there was Cincinnati, where he was diagnosed with the concussion, and now this one that comes from the Green Bay game. We know that Tua takes pride in being a father, as he's told us, so will he continue to risk his health for his profession? And then professionally, from the Dolphins standpoint, do they as an organization risk their future on a situation that for some reason seems a little more risky than somebody blowing out their knee again? And with that as the backdrop, we focus on the Dolphins also. They're 8-7 on a 4-game losing streak heading into their final 2 games. If they win the last 2 at New England this weekend and against the Jets next weekend, they're in. But it might be up to Teddy Bridgewater as the starting quarterback and rookie Skylar Thompson as the backup quarterback to take them to the playoffs. Kind of like in 2016 when Matt Moore took them to the playoffs after Ryan Tannehill got injured. There's all kinds of playoff scenarios, all kinds of meaning heading into these final 2 games. Let's dive in. All right, Dave Hyde. So let's talk about Tua personally first. He's a father, and he's told us he cares greatly about that. We've seen many players in the NFL have to retire or sit out some time due to concussions. One that comes to mind for the Dolphins tight end, Jordan Cameron. They got him from Cleveland in 2015. He sat out part of 2016. He retired in 2017 after, I believe it was 4 concussions in 6 seasons. Now, the Dolphins also had tight end Ethan Carter, who got a concussion earlier in the season. He has not returned. They have tight end Hunter Long, who had a concussion earlier this season. He has returned. Concussions, very personal, and medically, each case is very different. But Dave Hyde, tell me about Tua as a person. Do you think it's worth him risking maybe his well-being to play a game?
That's his decision, his doctors, his families, and all that stuff. But if all we know is if this is a second concussion, a third head trauma to this season, easy for me to say, but I don't think that this would be the end of his career. Okay. Just from anecdotal evidence, and again, this is a personal decision on his part, but the guys go on and play and because that's what they do. And the anecdotes of concussions in football are scary. Dan Marino, when they won the last playoff game, his last playoff game in Seattle in '99, he took the team on, I believe, an 86-yard scoring drive. He doesn't remember it because he had a concussion. And Troy Aikman, I've talked to him. He in an NFC Championship game in San Francisco, he was almost perfect. He doesn't remember that game because he was in a concussion. In fact, he says now he shouldn't have played the Super Bowl. Under these rules, he wouldn't have played the Super Bowl. So Zach Thomas, we were all scared by him by the end of concussions. See, Oakland Raiders, they played a playoff game, and he went out very early in that with a concussion. But personally, it's all to his decision. But I'd be surprised if, unless there's something out there that we don't know, something that the medical charts show and the neurologist tells him, I would be surprised if this is the end of his career.
I would too. and let's see how things turn out, because it's, as you say, it's hard to comment right now because we don't know the full story. We don't know, the severity of this particular head trauma incident. But I don't even, it could end his season. Let's wait and see it. But these are all.
I'd be surprised if he plays again this year. I mean, assuming this is a concussion and not a, I mean, they come back and say it wasn't a concussion, as happened earlier this year. Okay. Yep. And, but I'd be surprised if he come back and play this year.
Wow. And that's Dave, that's a very serious statement. Now, I don't know, but look, the time is very limited, right? That it's doubtful that he gets out of concussion protocol in time to play this week, and then next week that could be a precautionary thing. So you're definitely right. And Dave, fans are worried about Tua. Fans are worried about the Dolphins situation. You've been on Twitter. You've talked to fans. You know what's going on out there. We'll go out to Twitter and kind of get a gauge on what people are saying. Now, I'll say two things here. Thanks, as always, for people sending in these Twitter questions when we ask them. And these Twitter questions that I got were, I fielded these before Tua's concussion or head injury diagnosis. So these are basically on the 4-game losing streak and the situation that the Dolphins were in before Tua's diagnosis. But this one comes from Matty Dolphins, and it says, "What now, Perk? Team loaded with talent but traded away significant draft capital. Do they move on from Greer? Does a new GM want a new head coach?" And we get this one from Let's Go Fins. Do the Dolphins start looking at the draft for a QB in the offseason if Tua continues to struggle? And look, these are, the big question here is, did the front office make a mistake drafting Tua, and do the Dolphins look for a new quarterback in the offseason? And that's, that's kind of, I guess that kind of summarizes what some Dolphins fans are thinking and were thinking before the head injury diagnosis. It's really wait and see. And look, I think at this point, the Dolphins are fairly committed to Tua, and they opened this 2 or 3 year window to excel, right? Because you did make the acquisition of Teron Armstead. You made the acquisition of Tyreek Hill. You made the acquisition of Bradley Chubb. And that kind of sets off that clock of, we've got a 2 or 3 year window to take advantage of these guys while they are here, while they are healthy, while they are under contract, while they are fairly young. So, I think the thing with Tua and the Dolphins, I don't see them really going anywhere, meaning the GM, Chris Greer, meaning the head coach, Mike McDaniel, your quarterback, your key players, those kind of foundational players. We'll see what happens in these last 2 games, and we'll see what happens with injury. But to me, the Dolphins, when you acquired Chubb and before that getting Tyreek and Teron, it told me they feel like they have something here. Let's go for it. So I see this core right now, including Greer, including McDaniel. The plan is to go forward with these people. What your thoughts, Dave?
All right, let's let these 2 games play out before we get into who goes, who should stay, Now, the larger question to me with Tua is, there's the health question now. Okay, that is again come to the forefront. Okay, it's been there since he was drafted. Yep. It was there in September with the head, and now here it is back again. And the question becomes, this, as I wrote in a column today, this was the other opponent he had in becoming a franchise quarterback beyond just simply talent and thinking and everything that goes into being a quarterback. There's the health component with him. And, this is scary. If you're building a franchise, he's shown a propensity to get hurt. Okay. And part, he's smaller, he's slow. And if I'm building a team, do you trust that he's going to be there for January games? I mean, can you Bill Parcells used to say when it was a 16-game season, you needed the quarterback there 14 games. You had to trust that he's going to be durable enough because everybody gets hurt some. Okay, now where we are with Tua, are you going to be able to trust that? Is the talent worth the risk? And the main thing, what are your options right now? I'm not sure they have any options to that point, okay, beyond developing Skylar Thompson. They're up against a salary cap. They have no draft picks. Meaning no high draft picks that you would maneuver to get a quarterback. This is, I don't think they have an option for next year unless something shows itself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And look, Dave, even if Tua comes back this year or next year, you have to worry, we all know that we care about Tua the person, but we're talking about him because of Tua the football player on this show. So, let's just assume that we care about Tua the person. We'll focus on Tua the quarterback right now. If he's on the field, are plays off the books? Are they the quarterback sneak, the quarterback draw, the quarterback scrambling? Are those options?
No, they haven't been options before this either. They've taken those out of the playbook, right?
Yeah, and yep. No, let's listen to Mike McDaniel. I did ask him on a couple of weeks ago if he was concerned and what he told Tua about running with the ball. And he said that yes, it is a concern, and that Tua knows that the whole organization is counting on him to stay safe. And so we can listen to what Mike McDaniel had to say. We've got this video clip that we can go to that we can run right now if we're ready to do that here. Okay, let's go to that clip. Mike, what did you tell Tua about running with the ball since his return from the concussion, and what did you think last game?
He knows exactly what's at stake, and he knows that we're all counting on him, the organization, to protect himself. Okay, Tua's a competitor, almost to a fault. So when good luck telling him to slide before the sticks if he's frustrated during a game. Now, he's done a better job of that, but I think in the moments that you have seen, it's because he's maybe things aren't going the way he'd like, and so he's trying to take things into his own hands.
I mean, there is concern about Tua running the ball, as we heard Mike McDaniel say, and McDaniel said that, look, sometimes it's out of frustration that Tua decides to run the ball, that things aren't going well in the flow of the game, and he wants to make something happen, and this is a way that he sees an opportunity to make something happen with his feet. There's open field there in front of him, and he knows his concussion situation, but he chooses to run with the ball, and McDaniel was saying he's trying to get Tua out of that. If that's the case, Dave, really, again, we care about Tua the person, but strategically, you work at a huge disadvantage, don't you? When teams know that your quarterback is not going to scramble, you're not going to run the quarterback draw, you're not going to do a quarterback sneak on 4th and 1, doesn't that put you at a strategic disadvantage?
Yeah, I mean, it limits the weapons that Tua has to use. I mean, right. and yet, who wants to see him run with the ball? And,
right.
and this is exactly why. I mean, that was just a common NFL play that, a takedown and a bad hit of his head on the ground, but it was no one even noticed it in the course of events until Monday afternoon. So you had 170,000 people at the game and how many million watching on TV, and one person a Twitter follower put it out there, and good for him for noticing. But so, and it isn't like, look, Josh Allen running's the centerpiece of his game. Aaron Rodgers, it's not, and yet he still ran at 1.2 carries for 19 yards. So you have to, we saw this go out, and I'd be curious when Brian Flores would put in Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback sneak play, as the designated quarterback sneaker, and he'd take Tua out. Was that because he was small and that's not he's just not good at a sneak, or is it also because of health? I don't know, but yeah, sure, it's limiting of what a quarterback can do.
It is, and now, Dave, professionally, let me ask you this. Because I believe that NBC, Mike Florio, might have brought this up. I just saw the headline. I didn't click on the video. Should anybody from the Dolphins, feel liable or responsible for not spotting that? What about the spotter, the concussion professionals that the NFL provides? Should the process be reviewed yet again? I don't think so. I didn't see it, and not that I'm any kind of neurologist or anything, but and Tua sounded fine after the game, the same thing after Buffalo, but I would have played him during Buffalo, so I'm not a good reference. But does the system need to be reevaluated because of this incident, Dave?
The system should be constantly being evaluated. Okay, so whether from
Devontae Parker.
There was a play last night where two players seemed to get concussed on a tackle.
Right. Derwin James.
It should be constantly being reviewed, and I don't know if interesting thing, and I put in my column in the first half. So he got hurt at the end of the first half. In the first half, Tua was like 9 of 12 for 229 yards, and in the second half he threw for 81 yards and 3 interceptions. And is that because of the concussion? I mean, you could make a case for that. Mm-hmm. Should the Dolphins be held liable? I think you're looking for things when you throw out stuff like that. Should the league be liable because the spotter didn't spot it? But certainly you should be reviewing all your procedures as to making sure health is a primary concern.
And now professionally with the Dolphins, you do have this rebuild plan that's already going down the tracks. What do you do? What do you do here? I think if I'm the Dolphins, I'm definitely in wait and see mode, but I'm definitely on high alert here that you're very nervous for the future.
Here is a central issue to me in the rebuild plan. Okay. First of all, I didn't like tanking and all that stuff. But second of all, they have taken a lot of chances on guys with injury history. Okay, just this past a couple of years, Jalen Phillips, for instance, Bradley Chubb,
Teron Armstead.
He's missed 2 of 5 seasons, and I pushed to get Bradley Chubb, but that's a concern. Tua, obviously,
Armstead.
Armstead, a lot of money for a guy who misses on average 5 games a year and typically doesn't finish seasons. Now he is, it seems like this year, playing through a lot of pain. But the bottom line is they have heavy investments in a game where guys get injured and guys who have already been injured, and they have a history. And that is a concern if I'm crossing your fingers isn't always a plan in the NFL.
Right. But it's necessary sometimes. Sometimes you do have to roll the dice, and the Dolphins felt that this is the time again, that window, 2 or 3 year window for Teron and for Tua and for Jalen Waddle and for Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb. That window is open now, and I'm not sure it's going to be open any longer than 3 years. They chose to go for it. Finally, to kind of put a bow on this segment, Dave, it could be the Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson show the rest of the way. Again, we did see a backup quarterback, Matt Moore, finish off the Dolphins' playoff berth the last time they made a playoff run when Ryan Tannehill injured his knee.
Gunslinger.
The gunslinger, that's right. Yeah, can that happen again, do you think? Is this team equipped to to usher a backup quarterback to have a backup quarterback take them to the finish line? Can the offense, defense, and special teams, special teams, can they all, help this quarterback get them to the finish line?
I will say this with Teddy Bridgewater. I thought when they brought him in, that was the best decision they made, because to me, the backup quarterbacks is the second most important guy on any team because of what can happen. And, I know fans were down on Bridgewater when he came in. He didn't win the Minnesota game. He threw for over 300 yards without a week of practice. Right. Will there be a drop-off without Tua? Maybe. I don't think it'll be a significant drop-off, though. The question to me is they're going against a very good defense in New England. The New England's 6th in scoring, 8th in total yards. And teams have started to take away some things, it seems like, in the Dolphin passing game. So to me, I'm Teddy Bridgewater, beyond rust, he's shown an ability to win games in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can win with a backup quarterback in this system, offensively, defensively, and special teams, but clearly the margin for error is greatly reduced. And that's going to take us into our next segment here. And it's something else that's on the Dolphins fans' minds. What's wrong with the offense? What's wrong with the defense? What's wrong with Mike McDaniel? What's wrong with Josh Boyer? And on the list goes. Dave, this offense is 31st in rush attempts. And to me, they've become one-dimensional. It's Tua to Tyreek Hill and Tua to Jalen Waddle, and that's your offense. And now a couple of, when wondering what's happened to the offense, and especially these last few weeks, a couple of TV analysts have said defenses stopped believing in Tua's initial eye movement and look-offs. I don't know if that's true, right, or not, but look, it's the Teddy Bridgewater show, we think, and can he produce a move the chains offense while maintaining that big play threat? And is he going to, or is this offense going to involve Mike Gesicki and commit to the run? What do you think about where the offense is and where should it go for these next 2 weeks, Dave Hyde?
Yeah, it tells you a 4-game losing streak changes all the conversations. A month ago, we were talking about, they were sat behind Kansas City a half a game for the AFC playoff spot, and then could they win the AFC East and claim the number 1 spot for home field through the playoffs? And now we're trending towards awful. And okay, what's wrong with the offense? Should they run more? Yeah, they should run. You don't want to be 31st. Okay, you don't want to be 31st. That said,
that's in rush attempts.
In rush attempts. Yes. The strength of this team, we all know, is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the speed. And Wes Welker, I asked him last week about, his thought, and he explained it perfectly. Teams are playing 2 deep safeties on a first and second down. Nobody does that in the league, he said. And that's he went through just a really interesting answer about all the space that creates for everybody else. And that is your offense, okay? That what Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, how they scare defenses. So sure, should you run the ball? I'm not going to disagree with you on more. I'm not going to disagree, but let's not get away from the strength of the team as the 2 receivers.
Yeah, that's 100% true. On that, Dave, I would even like to see more ball distribution as far as targets, right? That, it looked like they run a good path for a while with Trent Sherfield and River Craycraft. Craycraft gets the calf injury. He's been out I don't know how many games. But Mike Gesicki, Dave, he's your 3rd best receiver. He's one of your top players. And I know that he's not a blocking tight end, but as a 3rd receiver, and we talk about, and Wes Welker was very good, as you say, in explaining the middle of the field is so open because these guys clear everything out. Run Mike Gesicki down there, get some seam routes, some slants, something to take advantage of that big target, the skill that this guy has. And I just see that skill kind of being wasted on a passing game that focuses mostly on 2 receivers. If I'm a defense, I'm like, look, I will do whatever I can to take away Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which, that's way easier said than done. But I'm going to focus on 2 receivers. And if you can beat me with anybody else, then you're just going to beat me. But I am seeing no indication the Dolphins are inclined to do that. So if I'm a defense, I'm focused on 2 receivers. And that's it. And that's how I'm going to stop this offense.
Yeah, to me, and New England would have the ability. I'm not thinking of the receivers. They have the pass rush, both defensive ends. Now, I want to go back to something real quick about Tua. Our teams are not looking at Tua's eyes and all that. Yes. Look at the opening play against San Francisco. Tua looked off the linebacker and to create a passing lane to Trent Sherfield, first play of the game. And then again against Buffalo, he looked off the safety. I believe it was Poyer. And then came back and threw to Tyreek Hill for a touchdown. So they can say they're doing that, but I'm not believing it from what the anecdotal evidence I'm seeing on the field. Now, Gesicki to me is a mystery of the season. He's a mystery because I get that he's not the quintessential tight end they want in this system. But one thing Mike McDaniel's very good at is taking a player's skill set and figuring out how to use it. And for some reason, that hasn't translated into what Mike Gesicki does well. Okay. I mean, he's a big target. He can get down the field. And as a third receiver to play off those other, I thought, yeah, he's not the perfect guy you want, but make use of it. And so that's a mystery that he really hasn't been used much.
Yeah, and look, we'll go out here to Twitter and we will entertain some of these Twitter questions that we get here, and the first Twitter question that, again, these are things that are on people's minds. It comes from Ubi1. Coach promised changes on offense/run scheme. How are we still not running the ball when it's clearly working? 8 carries for Raheem is crazy with the yards per carry he's averaging. We get this from Slim Youngin, which I love this one. Why can't we have nice things? I just love that, just as an all-encompassing, because you did have this quarterback in Tua who was making ground. This offense that seemed like it was making ground. The defense before Byron Jones was injured. They all seem to be nice things, but now, here we are. And then this one from Sunny1313, why do they refuse to run the football? And so, again, here we are with the things that are on the readers' minds. And I would like to see them run the football more. I don't think that, look, I'll say this. I think that the fact that they aren't running the football more and the fact that they aren't throwing to Mike Gesicki, to me, points to a lack of confidence from Mike McDaniel on both fronts, because we just saw last year, right? San Francisco, George Kittle, tight end. He wants to, when Mike McDaniel was their offensive coordinator and the run game coordinator before that. Now, George Kittle is way better than Mike Gesicki, but I'm just saying from utilizing the position. And then at running the ball, the 49ers were 7th in rushing last year. So we know that running the ball and utilizing the tight end are 2 things that Mike McDaniel likes to do and would do if he could, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's just a lack of faith or confidence on both fronts, right?
Well, remember, against Buffalo runs the nickel is their that's their base defense. Yeah. They ran the ball very effectively against, especially right up the middle. And they started out that way again against Green Bay. Green Bay is a bad rushing defense, yeah. and they start off very effectively running the ball. To be honest, I thought, did he lose confidence when Raheem Mostert fumbled? Then, and they were up 20-10. Right. That'd be the point where you would lean a little more on the running game. So, look, I know you're a big proponent of the running game, Perk, and I'm come around. You don't want to be 31st in any category, right? Okay. So rushing attempts, they should be running the ball more, but I'm still not. It should be the counterattack. Okay, the attack is what you do on the outside.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's go to the defense. Hyde. Look, the Dolphins are good against the run. They're, I believe, 10th in the league, but they struggle mightily against the pass. They've tried to change their defense this year. We know that because last year with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, it was lock them down on the edges and let everybody else go to work with the blitzes, whatever else you wanted to do. This year, you're trying to lead from the front with the pass rush, especially after you acquire Bradley Chubb. And you've got that Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Melvin Ingram pass rush. It doesn't mean they need to get sacks. It means they need to be disruptive. And they kind of got to Aaron Rodgers a little bit last week, but Aaron Rodgers is just a magician at dropping the arm angle and using his feet. And, I mean, the guy's a Hall of Famer, and he showed why. But, defensively, Dave, what do you do? Do you blitz less? Do you use more two deep safety formations to help with the pass defense, the yards that teams are acquiring on you? Or, like the offense, do you just kind of say, we're a big play defense? We wait for that strip sack, for that fumble caused, and that's how we pounce. Because to me, this is a big play defense now without Byron Jones, and really that's how you pounce and that's how you attack. But the big plays don't come as frequently as they do for the offense, which kind of leaves you hanging out there that you're probably just going to cross your fingers and hope that pass rush gets better. The secondary, I say this again, the secondary has done what it can. I know that injuries are no excuse and it's a next man up mentality, but at a certain time, you get to the end of the line. And just because somebody is wearing an NFL uniform does not mean they can excel as an NFL starter. So I think, I'm not disrespecting anybody in that secondary, but that's kind of where you are right now, that you can't go much deeper. You're using guys who are special team standouts, right? Justin Bethel and Clayton Fedulum. So you're kind of stuck as a defense. You're either going to transition to that pass rush leading you, or you're going to rely on the big play. The pass rush is the better option, but with 2 games left, I'm not sure if it can be a game-changing aspect of your defense. What do you do defensively?
Well, let's put this into some context. They're a very good defense at home. They're giving up 15 something points. And you look at the games Sunday against Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, opening drive, they start at the Dolphins 7-yard line. They hold them to a field goal. Later, they get an interception to the 14. They hold them to a field goal. I mean, the defense did plenty to win the game Sunday, and they've done plenty on the home games. Now, why it doesn't travel is an interesting something to lay down on the couch and talk to some of the players about, I guess. There are analytics out there, and I wish I could say who started this, about when they blitz, they are getting eaten up, and when they don't blitz, they're causing problems. And with a guy like Mac Jones, for instance, or a Zach Wilson, if he's still the quarterback of the Jets when they get there, you're helping them out, I think, by blitzing, because all of a sudden they just go to their hot read. They don't have to read the defense. They just go to a hot read and throw that. And so why help them out? Why blitz and help them out when you're not being effective blitzing? Okay, you're not getting to people very often. Brandon Jones was a big loss in that regard. He, between him and Javon Holland would switch off and they blitz, and they were very effective. So you lost some component of that game. Maybe blitz less, and again, I think you're helping the younger quarterbacks out when you do blitz.
Yeah, and we're going to see what they choose to do, but I really do think, as opposed to blitz, don't blitz, this is up to those pass rushers right now. And let's say this also: Christian Wilkins having an incredible year, Zach Sealer having an incredible year, but they aren't game changers from their position. I guess if this was Aaron Donald rushing from the inside, and that's one thing, but this is Wilkins and Sealer, and they aren't controlling games. So you need your pass rushers, Chubb, Phillips, and Ingram, to change the game, or you need your turnovers to change the game. But defense, I don't see many more options for the defense than that. You need to be able to do something. Now, look, I've been on the side of the defense all year. I continue to be on the side of this defense. They do average what I think every road game they've allowed at least 23 points. And so guess what? New England is a road game.
32 points on the road.
Yes, and they average yes.
Not good.
That's not good. That's not good at all. And so we'll see what happens this week, and that kind of transitions us to segment 3 of, will the Dolphins make the playoffs? And, what are we seeing for this Patriots game? And so, Dave, look, yes, Tua might have been concussed. We know that he suffered some sort of head trauma last week, and maybe that affected the second half. But can we excuse or dismiss this loss against Green Bay the way we did against Buffalo, where, Buffalo, hey, they played a good game, 32-29. It was just Josh Allen took over, but they, on that losing streak, they gave a gritty effort, and it bodes well for the future. Well, guess what? It really didn't. And we can say whatever we want about the fourth quarter against Green Bay, but this was a losing team, a team with a losing record in Green Bay that came into your house in December and beat you. And so now you're 0-4 in December, your first winless December since 1993, when you were 9-2 and finished 9-7 and missed the playoffs. So this is kind of what you're looking at here. And so I know you can kind of say, well, Tua in the fourth quarter, maybe they would have won. They didn't win. And so, look, Dave, the Dolphins were winless in December, and we're going to go over these numbers again. They're -5 in point differential. Now, the Chargers they were -28 going into that game last night, and the Chargers are in the playoffs, so you can make the playoffs as a minus team. The Dolphins are -5 in turnover margin. Philadelphia is -5 in turnover margin. So, again, and the Dolphins did beat New England 20-7 in the opener. But a crucial game, it's Mike McDaniel against Bill Belichick. I mean, you've got all this stuff swirling. So what do you choose to believe about the Dolphins going into this game? I mean, is this a tailspin, or the last two games, are you encouraged by Buffalo and you see the excuse against Green Bay? And does the winless December bother you? And where is this team heading into this game overall, Dave?
Yeah, they're a disaster right now. They've lost 4 straight games. Okay.
Yeah.
Their confidence has to be, okay, where are we at? And yeah, you can say Tua with the concussion, maybe that was the issue. Okay. We don't know. You don't know. There are just as many anecdotal stories of players playing great with concussions. I gave you a couple, as probably playing poorly. So I have no idea what that, but all we know is, for that 4-game stretch, Tua wasn't very good.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
San Francisco, the Chargers, Buffalo, he was pretty good, but Josh Allen closed out the game, not the Dolphin quarterback. Okay. And so now the good news, New England's a disaster too right now. You talk about Bill Belichick team, how they're losing. I mean, First of all, with his hand-picked offensive coordinator, which looks like some of the Dolphins hand-picked offensive coordinators the previous few years, and then the fact that they just aren't playing, Bill Belichick football in December, okay, and they've lost 2 straight in embarrassing fashion, and so somebody's going to come out of the game with a real chance for the playoffs. Tell me who these teams are right now, and you'll know. New England and Mac Jones, or the Dolphins and Teddy Bridgewater. It's who's going to get hot Sunday.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned the back-to-back losses for the Patriots and the lateral damage, Dave. I don't know if I asked you this on Sunday. Old people like me remember this. The Herm Edwards, Joe Pisarcik finish. that was much worse, wasn't it? Because the Giants were going to win that game, and Joe Pisarcik is trying to hand off to Larry Zonka to kill the clock, and they fumble. Herm Edwards scoops it up, scores a touchdown. Philly wins the game, and after that, that ushered in the victory formation, so the significance of that, where Philly not only was going to lose, but they won the game. The Patriots were going to tie and go into overtime. So Philly not only reverses the outcome, but it's historic. The offshoot, the victory formation. No longer do you hand it off like Bill Belichick tried to do, right? That you go into the victory. So that the Herm Edwards, Joe Pisarcik is right. Or this, I think the Patriots is recency bias. Come on, Hyde. You're my age.
I wouldn't argue that the Pisarcik fumble was worse. Now, what makes this, you get the Benny Hill music playing with this one because the balls are being thrown over the field. And it's Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time. What is this doing? Why didn't he just take a knee and he's running the ball? What are you getting out of that? So, some of the luster, just as with Tom Brady now, Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, but the lusters were, both of them are just, their reputations are sagging right now, Brady and Belichick.
Right. And let me digress to something else. By the way, you don't have your books. What you're out of your home office. Come on.
And we have visitors here for the holidays, and I got kicked out of my office. So, I could find a book here but it's my pedestal has books on it. But anyway.
All right, well,
get swagger and get still perfect. Go out and read a good holiday read.
There you go. And I like the holiday hat, very festive, because that leads me into this very small thing, that the weather on Sunday is supposed to be a high of 55. I think a 50% chance of rain in New England. That's kind of what it was here, right? So on Sunday for the Green Bay game. Will weather be a factor in any way, shape, or form? I don't think it will.
As long as it doesn't rain, 50-degree weather, that's nothing, So, if it gets wet, that's different. But no, it's nothing.
Yeah, I think so. And that, and by the way, our thoughts are with the people up in Buffalo. That blizzard, we were there a week early, which is a good thing for us. But thoughts are with those Bills fans who are kind of shut-ins with all that snow. Hyde, let's go back out to our Twitter questions, and we'll talk about what's on people's minds here. I should really look at some of these before I put them on here. This is from Buster Gibbons, and it's I don't know, his handle is BG Guitar Tuition. BG Guitar Tuition, I think that's it. How many wins do the Dolphins end up with, in your opinion? We get this question from Spider Kane. Would you get rid of Mike McDaniel if you could have Sean Payton and Tom Brady for a run next year? And then this question from Spry23. If the Dolphins miss the playoffs, will Boss Ross make a change at GM and coach with Sean Payton out there and waiting in the wings? So you can see kind of again, these were questions before Tua's head injury was diagnosed, but they're 4-game losing streak questions and looking ahead questions. And it's kind of how the Dolphins fans are kind of thinking of, if we don't make it, Sean Payton is out there, and what does Chris Greer get fired? And it's kind of a doom and gloom because Dolphins fans have seen this movie before. I think the Dolphins make the playoffs still. Now, before I thought they were going to make the playoffs, before Green Bay, I thought they were going to win 10 games and get into the playoffs. Now I don't know. I don't know that they win 10 games. They might get in with 9. If they beat the Patriots and the Jets lose to Seattle, the Dolphins are in and they could get in as a 9-win team. Dave, I really don't know what's going on with this team right now. Again, I will go back to this. Right now, let's see how the season ends. I don't foresee any changes at the top, either Chris Greer or Mike McDaniel, even if they lose these last two. Now, if they lose in dramatic fashion and, there are some questionable coaching decisions or whatever, then all bets are off. But, let's just say they lose both of these by 3 points. I think you're probably still staying with this same nucleus. Your thoughts? Do you foresee, under normal circumstances, if they lose these last two, should there be changes? Would you see justification for major changes?
No, I think you need to run this era through. Okay, and that they got the quarterback they picked. They got all the money they picked. It would be a tough situation for anybody. Let's just take it. Let's say the job is open, both of them. Well, you can't do. You're handcuffed to do a lot,
right?
As far as changing the roster or all that. So, and let's also remember, Steve Ross is the guy who kept Joe Philbin after Bullygate, and when they never made the playoffs, and said he's bringing it back.
Right.
So, and I like Mike McDaniel. I'm not going that. I'm not saying, I don't think he deserves to be fired or anything like that. Okay. In fact, I've been fascinated by what he's doing this year. Obviously the last month hasn't played to his favor, but, Joe Philbin was a shadow of anything, and they brought him back. What I'm saying is Steve Ross is not the kind who makes, big rash moves, other than Brian Flores.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right. Other than the most recent one, right? Yeah. Guy has 2 back-to-back winning seasons and he's out. But I agree with you though. I don't think look. You need to stick with this nucleus. You like what they put together, and I'm talking in Steve Ross's, sitting in his chair. You like what they put together so far with Tua and with Tyreek and with Chubb and with Armstead.
Well, I'm not saying they like what they've assembled. You got to go through the whole season here, and December changes a lot of the thinking on this. And again, it brings into the risk factor in taking some of these guys with health concerns. Okay. But you got to let this play out. You got to let it play out. And that era is, a lot of the through next year, I think, before we even get into who should go and who should stay.
Yeah. I think that's right. We don't know anything about this season until we see the results of these last 2 games. And, that's kind of a rough way to look at it, putting everything on 2 games, but really that's reality. That's where we are. So, all right, Dave, it's prediction time. So we could be looking at Teddy Bridgewater here. By the way, next week, the finale, we could be looking at South Florida starting quarterbacks of Teddy Bridgewater against Mike White. So when the Dolphins host the Jets, but that's getting ahead of things. This week could be Teddy Bridgewater against Mac Jones on the road. I like Teddy Bridgewater as a backup quarterback, and I like him in this situation as a starter. Dolphins have not been good against quality teams, which teams that are 500-ish. They have not been good against those teams on the road, and this defense has not been good on the road. However,
it's the Patriots offense. Is that where you're going?
The Patriots offense is not good. I have respect for that Patriots defense, but no respect for that Patriots offense. I'm going Dolphins 24-21.
Wow, that's I'm with you on a lot of the things you said. I'm just going to twist it in that the Patriots defense is very good. They have 2 pass rushers from the ends who are very good. And so I'm going to go with Patriots 2017.
Oh, boy. And that could pretty much set up a winner-take-all Jets game.
Yeah, and right now I think the Dolphins squeak in by beating the Jets because they're the Jets. I mean, okay, but,
this is the team that beat them 40-17 earlier this year.
Yeah, but they've regressed too.
They don't have Breece Hall.
No, remember when we were talking about the AFCs? Look, they're all winning records. This is the best division in football. They've regressed to the mean, haven't they? In December, where the Patriots and the Jets and the Dolphins have all collapsed.
Yep. You're right. So, all right. Well, we'll see where we are at this time next week. That's your boy, Dave Hyde. I'm your boy, Perk. We will see you next Tuesday at noon here on sunsentinel.com. Happy New Year to everybody.